ain't going anywhere.
Hello, welcome to Kapow Toys Presents. I'm your host King Grimlock, and today we're going to be taking our first foray into the world of Star Wars. The Star Wars Evolutions, to be precise, and this is the Imperial Pilot Legacy that we're going to be taking a look at. And we have the clone pilot from Revenge of the Sith, from the Clone Wars, and then Biggs Darklighter from Star Wars Empire Darklighter, which I believe is a book. I'm sure, it's pretty much sure is a book. This is sort of charting the evolution of the Imperial warriors from your basic clone trooper to your Rebel Alliance. Was it the Rebel or did they become the Empire? I can never remember with Star Wars. I'm going to have really angry Star Wars fans, I think, over this video. I just feel it happening. I'm a big fan of the films. Outside of the universe, a big fan of the films as in I've watched them a few dozen times and gone, yeah, they're really good films. Not as in the entire world and mythology of it. I just don't have the time, and you guys that put that commitment in is astounding and is astonishing, and you know, fair play to you guys. You know your stuff. It's quite wonderful to watch at times and hear about, but it's just not what I know. So I do apologise for any historical inaccuracies that I managed to come up with in the course of this review. But let's take a closer look at the figures. Now these are made by Hasbro and are 3 3/4 inch, so I'm going to be expecting, or I was expecting, something similar in quality to the G.I. Joe figures that have been released, that I've been reviewing recently, and I am let down, considerably let down. This battle pack of 3 figures comes with literally helmets and weapons, and that's it, and they just don't have the same level of articulation or same level of quality even that the Joe figures have themselves. I just expected so much more. Let's start off with the oldest, as it were, figure, the clone pilot from the Legacy, and the articulation's good. Ball jointed twists on the knees and the ankles, and just a straight movement at the hip, and ball jointed elbows, twisting the wrist, ball jointed shoulders, and very tight ball joint, but it really only works as a swivel in the head. And the detail's fantastic. Now, in terms of articulation, am I wrong in expecting this to be at least as articulated as the Joe stuff? That's what gets me. Am I wrong in thinking that? Should I be thinking that this guy should be as articulated as the Joe stuff because they're built or made by the same people? I know the designers aren't the same, but you know, you could have had a waist swivel, you could have had ball jointed hips, you could have just had that little bit more to it, the diaphragm bend as well, and it just, I don't know, it's just, they lack something because of that. If I hadn't been playing with Joes, this guy might have impressed me a lot more. But you know what? He doesn't. Where he does impress me, though, is in his build quality and in the detailing on him. The sculpting is fantastic. The moulding is beautiful all over. The armour looks brilliant. And the helmet and everything really adds to the character of it. I like the head sculpt. I really like the head sculpt. And the helmet actually adds to the character. You know, it looks good. It looks the part. A little clip on there for the data box to be able to actually put down rather than springing back up would have been nice, but not a necessity. The gun is lovely sculpting on it, really detailed. Doesn't do anything except for obviously sit in his hand. He has trigger fingers on both hands, which is quite nice. It is slightly bent, unfortunately. But he looks the part, and he looks like a clone trooper or a clone pilot from the film The Clone Wars, which was the animated one, yeah. So he looks the part, and he is probably, for me, the highlight of these 3. And we go into the Revenge of the Sith pilot, and we see that it has a very similar head sculpt, terrible paint apps across the top, where they've just, I don't know, sort of half moulded or half painted over the top of the hair and the ears and sort of filed bits down. It just doesn't look very nice. The actual articulation is pretty much identical. Some really nice clicking joints though, these swivels and ratchets in, and they really feel nice. That is horrible, but you can make him do the splits. But that's it, there's no outward, and he's got a waist swivel, the other hasn't. See, you know, it's just, I don't know, there's that bend. It's that bend, so obviously that's the anime. Slightly different articulation between the two. Oh, that's quite nice to know actually. Yeah, there's a bend there and a swivel rather than a ball joint. And nothing in the ankle at all. Very interesting. I should really have paid more attention to these. I thought, oh, they're all going to be the same. But they're not. paint scheme's terrible. The paint apps are absolutely abysmal. The white has been painted over so thickly in places that you can see patches of paint. Where it hasn't been painted over thickly, you can see the stuff coming through, like on the head and on the box in the front. Box does detach, leaving a really ugly scar in the middle of it. Maybe, I don't know, you could have painted up to the edges, filled in the gaps. The sculpting is quite nice on the uniform and things like that. The helmet is where the action is at, though, strangely. This is where the details are nicest. Obviously it's clear plastic that's been painted over, but they've really gone to an effort of applying lots of paint apps into the gaps. I'm not sure how well that's going to pick up, actually. Oh, that's a shame. There's really nice paint apps on it, really detailed, and that's the highlight of this figure. You flop it into place, make sure it's actually on and over his eyes, the visor. There we go. Plug in there and there. Do apologise. There we go. And there's him with his helmet on. Looks, I say, the helmet's the highlight for me. Gun is very similar in style to that, just slightly toned down, and does again look really nice. Fits really nicely into the arm, into the hand. That's what the word I was looking for. There we go. Fits really nicely into the hand. Stay in the bloody hand. There we are. And you know, he doesn't look bad, but in comparison to that one, I don't think he really has it going on. I just don't like that hip articulation. It looks like a complete figure in that area, whereas that you can really see the articulation points, and it just doesn't work for me. Now, Biggs Darklighter, I have no idea who the character is. I imagine I don't know. I really don't know who the character is. But this is my least favourite of the toys, these three toys, by an absolute country mile. There is not much good about this. Even though he's in the best uniform, he is in the best movie type time scale. The big black plastic gloves and boots. But he's all out of proportion. His torso is massive, tiny stumpy little legs. The gun is nice. I like the detailing on the gun, with this massive sight on it, but it just doesn't fit in. I mean, it fits in the holster, but then it comes up to his armpit. It looks stupid. Detailing on the box is really nice again, detaches. This at least has been painted up to the point. Articulation's the same with that guy, not that guy. Except for, yeah, nothing at below the knee. Detailing all over, again, really nice, some lovely sculpting on the cloth, but it's the actual figure itself, it's just all out of proportion, especially the helmet is massive, and you put it on his head, and he doesn't even feel it, the poor boy. Plug them in and we'll just take a look. Ooh. Oh, I don't really want to. But yeah, the helmet just doesn't fit on properly. You have to, and if you can see the gaps down the side there, it just doesn't fit him. I mean, he looks like Dark Helmet from Spaceballs. Really, really disappointing of being the final one, and as I say, being in the era of Star Wars that I would be the biggest fan of. So as a 3-pack, what do you get? Well, you get 3 figures who are varying quality in my eyes. This is without doubt the highlight as far as a toy goes. It has great articulation. It looks really nice. The colour scheme pops out. And the paint apps are really nicely done. Everything about it is tidy, everything about it is nice. These two suffer from not poor articulation, but just not what I would expect articulation. The weaponry isn't as good, the paint apps aren't as good, and unfortunately, poor Biggs suffers from big head syndrome, in the terms of his health. Poor Biggs has taken offence to what I have said and has died. Ah, bless. So, I really don't know what else to say about these guys other than it's difficult for me as a non-outside universe Star Wars fan to see any, would I recommend them? If you're a Star Wars fan, I think this guy's really good. For what he is, he's really nice. The other two, I just don't see as being that nicer figures. So what conclusions can I draw from it as a 3-pack? Well, you definitely see an evolution. The newer made toys, or what I believe to be the newer made toys in the animated based toy line, are much nicer. Everything about them is complete and everything about them is detailed, everything about them works. Whereas the older looking figures, or the older styled figures in the more realistic style, I guess, just don't really cut it in my eyes. They're not as nice. Though, that all said, As a Star Wars fan, you may find something you like in this 3-pack. You might absolutely adore this 3-pack, and I've just got it all wrong. But I think Big's face down in the dirt kind of highlights my exact thoughts on this. As a 3-pack then, varying success. As Star Wars toys, one of them's got me remotely interested in maybe looking at other figures. The other two has left me a little cold. Anyway, I've been King Grimlock. This has been the Star Wars Evolutions Imperial Pilot Legacy 3-pack, and we will see you soon.